Yo, come one, come all, nothing but love, nothing but respect. You know what we do, what we don't, what we is, what we isn't, and what we is here today. Alright, talking nothing but One Piece 1028, and damn, was this not anything but a damn good chapter. I've got with me today Daniel, aka X for Brecky. Say hi.
Hello.
Hello, hello. And, I need to update the October goal up here for the subscribers. We're actually at 53, not 51. It's not syncing up at the moment for some reason, but who cares? It'll it'll get better in a moment. Anyway, let's just jump into the chapter, shall we? So, I mean, first things first is like the colossal elephant in the room. CP0 is sending reinforcements to Wano. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Uh,
Um.
this sort of just, and like I said to you with the bloody doctored chapter that I sent you, all I could think of was like, man, okay, Act 4 is going to come then. Like, this war hasn't hit the peak of its scale yet, is all I can think of. That,
Yeah.
or they're going to be
I just
used
I'm
to push
lost.
people out after, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm like completely lost as to what can happen because I can't see Luffy eating Kaido and then like having enough energy to do anything. And I also can't see like Zoro and or Saji doing either.
Hmm.
So like beating the Beast Pirates and then having another showdown right after that. I just don't see that happening.
Nah, I get ya. It's hard because I mean, pretty much what they end up saying this chapter, right, is that well, essentially, the three that are here are meant to move actively now. So we've got three CP0 members that are now actively going to be pushing for Robin, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first takeaway. Second takeaway is we've got at least another three members of CP0 and fodder on their way. But even that is a little bit hard to gauge here because something that I took note on was if you go down to page 2 and you see the ships that are coming to Wano, right? They're,
Yep.
for starters, in the same water vicinity that the big mum pirates should be in. So they might get held up at sea and not actually make it to Wano because they might clash with the big mum pirates.
Uh-huh.
Number two is the room that has Rob Lucci, Kaku, and Stussy is a glass windowed room, uh, which you don't really see any rooms like that on any of those ships that are actually coming, so they might not even be present, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah, it didn't imply to me that they were coming. I figured that he was like at back at home,
See,
um, giving
I,
orders.
I've seen it split. One, and you know, I'm guilty of it myself, right? Where it's like, okay, Rob Lucci, Susi, and Kaku could be coming, and it could be that the perception of where we see them is maybe like at the front of the ship as opposed to the back of the ship. So we just don't really see where they are personally. You know what I mean? But
Uh-huh.
it is quite possible that they are going to be active, and they are going to be on their way to Wano and may contribute to Wano's storyline somehow. Um, Also, though, the interesting thing to note is they were told that they were only going to move if Kaido goes down,
Hmm.
whereas they're going for Robin regardless, no matter what. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's yeah, it is a little bit different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so I mean, the first thing is first. Like, if they do, if they do end up coming to Wano, what's going to happen? What's the goal? You know what I mean? Get XL, good to see you in the chat as well, my guy. I think that it's going to be Usopp versus Robluchi Brook versus Kaku and Carrot versus Stussy. See, honestly, I don't know because I mean Rob Lucci and Kaku should really be around where Zoro Sanji are now, even if they're not near Luffy. if that makes sense, right? Because they've got very identical growth rates, don't they?
Yeah, I think the main thing is that like Lucci has straight up been stated that um he's a like a prodigy,
Yeah,
and we haven't seen how strong the six powers actually get. We saw how strong they were, but that was like base. Like I've only just managed to do it. I mean, I think the wolf guy was the only one that could actually move and do iron
iron
body at
body.
the same time.
Yeah,
Which is like you don't even really have armament hockey at that point.
and I
That's
mean,
like really
it's
yeah.
also again coming from a guy that just finished all of Ennie's Lobby not too long ago. Something very interesting to note is there was only I think there was only one or two people from CP9 that actually got beaten while actively using Iron Body. The others got beaten when they weren't using it.
Yeah.
So if it is like normal armament hierarchy, and say that Jabra was the only one that could move while using armament hierarchy pre-time skip, right? It's not like they got necessarily overpowered while using it. You know what I mean? They could use it to
Yeah.
defend for a moment.
I mean, like my thought process is sort of that like it's possible that the powers are actually ridiculously powerful. It's just that they only had like the very, very, very base version of it, like a pathetic level of it, because they had only just kind of started out. And it's possible now that like Rob Lucci may, for example, have like completely mastered it. And we do know that the CP agencies are like the direct challenges of the Revolutionary Army, and that Blackbeard ran away from the CP0. So it is like possible that like the CP agency, at least as a whole, is like possibly a Yonko crew in strength, like possibly equal to the Navy
Mm.
in strength,
I mean, yeah,
which is
they
pretty
did push the
crazy.
Blackbeard pirates off of Boltago, so
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
and and it's hard, right? Because the Blackbeard pirates are very hit or miss because they're very pick their battle. So
But
like,
mind you, the Blackbeard pirates did dumpster all over the Grudge War,
yes,
which
yes,
is Marco and all of the commanders.
that is true.
So that's like an entire the strongest Yonko's crew minus the Yonko. And Whitebeard just crushed them. It was supposedly an overwhelming defeat, and then Blackbeard then ran away
Yeah.
from the CP0. So and it's possible that one of those people there were Lucci, and the fact that Lucci has this commanding position, seemingly he's the one on the microphone
Okay.
even above Stussy, who's probably been around for a while.
So
He's obviously a talent among them.
okay, this, this is interesting actually because this is something I want to address right here because a lot of people have been running with this and saying Rob Lucci's the boss of CP0 after this chapter,
I
right?
don't think he's the boss. I think he's a commander, like a leading figure, or
And
not leading figure, but a like commander position.
I,
Yeah.
I think what Rob Lucci is in CP0, right, is like if you thought about this like a construction company, right? Rob Lucci
Mhm.
is the apprentice that was a genius as an apprentice, right? So
Mhm.
they hired him immediately coming out of his trade, and he's knowledgeable enough to stand his own and challenge like some of the longest lasting tradesmen. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, I think he's probably like top three of CP0. I don't think he's the boss of it. He may be the
Yeah.
second strongest, but I think he's like in that top three for like scatter of it, right?
I agree with that. Yeah.
And
The way that I see it is the people above them that like give them the orders are probably either like in the Gorosei, or like people that are their job is basically as like an administrator, like a commander. Not They're not fighters.
mm,
So I think in terms of strength, like I think how it is like they're all just agents. They're all just CP0 agents. Like everyone in that room, Stussy, Laura Bellucci, Kaku, everyone are all just CP0 agents. But when they get put together on a team, and then like a leader of the team gets assigned. And I think Rob Lucci's like status is that if he gets put on a team, he will usually be like the commander of that team.
yeah, yeah, no, I agree with that. Interestingly enough, here, and Gedex will bring like uh, just commented then saying, He got it wrong. There's 4 ships, not 2 ships, right? But he also said they might be bringing SSG with them for this mission. I I actually disagree. I don't think they're going to bring SSG, but something that is really important of note here is that it's CP0 going to deal with the Yonko and the Supernovas here. When wholeheartedly in the past, their objective has been the Revolutionary Army because they're the only major faction directly opposing the Celestial Dragons. So the fact that Otis sort of pulled the rug out here and had the CP0 start to go after the pirates, while if you remember, the world government, or the Marines are actually having a conflict with the revolutionaries at the moment in some capacity. So, I mean, for starters, we're sort of getting it set up for the revolutionaries to get completely overwhelmed because their entire organization is set up to deal with CP0 and the Celestial Dragons, not the military of the Navy.
Yeah.
So, the government's sort of done the best interest here, where they've sent some strong people to clean up here and take over probably the best New World asset in Wano, while also having their stronger force completely dominate, seemingly, the other major faction in the world outside of here.
Yeah. Okay, so then I have a question for you. So
Shoot.
it's been basically said to us so many times that Kaido is like an absolute monster. Like he's basically like a legend among this world,
Yeah.
right? And so realistically, like from the Navy's or the CP0 or whatever's perspective, you would never expect to be able to just like take him out and take over his territory because he is like a weapon. You just want to stay the hell away from him, right? Even
100%.
if you have heavy hitters like Akainu, you just don't even bother dealing with him.
It's not worth
Um,
losing your best assets to go after
yeah,
someone like this in their
unless
home
he's
territory.
directly attacking you.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless he's directly attacking you, like if he's just staying out there torturing random people you don't know, you just leave him alone. So like with that said, um, like with him out of the picture at least, if do you think that the fighting force that they're sending right now is enough to take out an entire Yonko crew outside of someone as big name as Kaido? Like, do you think it's first division, second, third division all going to get taken out? Like, or do you think that they're relying on
Okay.
like if Kaido goes down, the whole forces are probably going to be shattered completely. So then we can definitely take them over.
Let me put it this way. Point cut and dry. Um, at minimum, Rob Lucci's equal to Husu, right? The fact that
absolute minimum.
at absolute minimum, comparing them based on what we know in the story and how they're both being perpetuated here,
Yeah.
at minimum, he's Husu level, right?
I'd be surprised if he was only Who's Who level. I'd actually be a bit insulted.
Right. So, and again, for anyone that's dying on the Who's Who bandwagon here, you got to remember Who's Who was stated to have as much potential as Rob Lucci, but Rob Lucci stayed with the organization that kept training him.
Yeah. And then it was also stated that all of Who's Who's abilities were, because he got kicked out of the agency so soon, he basically took what he'd already learned, which was as much as when we saw
Rob
Lucci
Lucci
at the most. He basically just took those abilities and then tried to develop them further himself, whereas Rob Lucci actually got trained the rest of the abilities.
And I mean, you just essentially all Who's Who is pre-time skip Rob Lucci with what you would assume basic haki being tacked on. Visualize.
I would account it to like essentially imagine if during the 2-year time skip it instead of what Luffy did, he just went back to the East Blue, like back to the little village that he lived in and just like tried to train himself.
Yeah.
That's the difference in strength that you would have seen versus him getting trained by Ray.
And so okay, for starters, and I've been on this bandwagon for a long time because I think it's the most underrated thing in the story, right? Paper body with someone with an advanced future sight or an advanced observation haki would be no different to what Katakuri is able to do, except you wouldn't need the devil fruit to do it, right?
Yeah.
So, if in the last 2 years Rob Lucci has attained some form of and essentially we know he has Rio because that's what the Rio Kogu gun was. He put his fists out and sent out a shockwave and internal damage to Luffy pre-time skip, right?
Yeah.
And we know that he has armament and observation. So if he's just trained his observation up to a better level, right? And he's able to use paper body to dodge. Just dodge more effectively, and
Yeah.
just has that generic post time skip armament haki level up. Even
Hmm.
from what we saw pre time skip, with just those little buffs, right? He's probably taking on people like Jack and Queen reasonably easy, and I don't see Kaku being too far off from him.
That is true. Also, if you give him either or Conqueror's Haki due to his like
And,
nature of being
yep,
super hardcore, or Awakening on his Devil Fruit since he's had it for so long.
and again, right? The Awakening would be the
He
big one
that
here
way.
because he's a zone and he's in the Marines, right? Or World Government. The World Government
Mm,
is also in charge of Impel Down. Impel Down has five, right? Five Awakened
mhm,
zones.
mhm,
All right, they've got Minotaurus. They've got the zebra. They've got the rhino. They've got the Minotaurus, rhino, zebra, koala, and chihuahua. Right?
mhm.
If Rob Lucci and Kaku are awakened zones here with uh, with the knowledge of how to use Rio, have a set. They
Yeah.
don't need future sight, but a semi-advanced observation haki, right? And
Mhm.
they're a six paths master now, meaning Kaku's able to do all the same stuff that Rob Lucci could do pre-time skip. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that not just put them, and the fact that there's a minimum of six of them, right?
Yeah.
So that's essentially getting instead of having the flying six, that's essentially having six who's who plus roll up on your
Like
island with
yeah.
reinforcements.
The way that I'd think about it is like if you just thought about a blank character, then just describe them the powers. If you give them Rio, a carnivorous zone that is awakened, future sight, and like at least high level of the powers, I would be like, yeah, that person is a beast. Like if you're fighting someone with Rio, even if you have Conqueror's Rio and you're like blasting through and damaging him, he's just instantly healing back.
The
Like, how are you gonna wear that man
and
down?
again, we're harping up Rob Lucci a bit here,
Like,
but
yeah, I'm not saying he's like Yonko level, but like I could
well,
definitely see him like
he's commander
tussling.
level. He's
If,
commander level
yeah,
because we saw him
if
fighting with
if he
Sabo.
has if we has everything that we're giving to him, and we're being a little bit generous, but I think we're being realistic. Then he would be like first, second division.
Oda, time and time again in other forms of media, has been saying Rob Lucci and Sabo are fighting equally.
Yeah.
And I've got no reason to disagree with that because Rob Lucci has that same forecast in development
Hmm.
that Luffy does. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
The
Um,
only way that I would accept him being as strong as Luffy, though, is if they gave some explanation
oh,
like the six powers are like Im's abilities from like an alien race and
well,
they're like ultra powerful or
I
something like that.
I think the difference is Rob Lucci is what Luffy was going to be at the beginning of this arc before Luffy unlocked, Conqueror's Haki and just started wailing on everyone. The advanced
Yeah.
Conqueror's Haki and just took that extra leap up. And the thing I really want to point out here is Kaku. Kaku has now had 2 years to train with his fruit. When we saw Kaku fighting Zoro, Kaku was treating it like a game because he was trying to actually like he was trying to learn his fruit's ability on the fly and wasn't fighting how he normally would fight.
Mm.
So when Kaku went down, he went down treating it a little bit like a joke. You know what I mean? Now he's had
Hmm.
2 years to buff up. He's going to be a lot more threatening. You have Stussy, who's able to do, and again, one thing that Stussy's shown us to do that if the other two can do now as well is even more impressive is she can do a ranged finger pistol where she flicks her finger and it sends out essentially a Soru. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
if Rob Lucci and Kaku are able to do stuff like that, where say they're fighting someone, and if they do a Rio punch, and the person dodges, and he just flicks his finger after missing the punch, and it sends out a projectile that cuts them. That's
Hmm.
that's damn impressive. That is some damn impressive stuff there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See, like we don't know that much about Storcy, but we do know that she's basically heading a underground division for the CP0. So she's obviously in like somewhat of a high position,
Yep.
like be given that role. That's like a very trusted position.
And again, like I'm just coming through here, but having Rob Lucci, Kaku, Stussy, and these other three CP0 members, plus any fodder that they're bringing, right? This is essentially close enough to being a buster call from the world government instead of the Marines.
Yeah, just one without an admiral, of
Mm-hmm.
course.
Not to mention, we still have X Drake on the ground, right? If X Drake defects from the pirate side and the pirate alliance once once the government here recoups and he says, "Look, I'm an undercover spy,"
Hmm.
right? That alone will mean he's now got an out to escape this situation, right? Assuming
Hmm.
they don't decide to just silence him. So essentially, this is bringing this bringing another faction in also opens the door for other factions as well, because the only argument I think we've really had about the reason why this wasn't going to continue happening, like why the arc wasn't going to drag on, is because we had so much hype for people coming to Wano. It felt so late stage that no one else was showing up that it was sort of like, well, if no one's going to show up, like no one's going to show up now that it's just down to Luffy versus Kaido. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If these people are showing up now, though, it just sort of says to me like the conflict's going to be a bit more than just the top three Straw Hats versus the top three Beast Pirates. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? And there's going to be a bit
Yeah.
more weight to it, especially since big thing to remember here is X Drake's character is based on the pirate, right? Drake the pirate, Sir Francis Drake, who actually opened the borders of Japan to the world when they had a closed border policy.
Yeah.
So it Oda's a good guy. He's a smart guy.
It's true. We probably will see something come out of Drake because we haven't seen enough to make his presence significant yet.
Mhm.
So he probably will have some kind of twist action that he does at the end of this arc. Because like so far, like all we've seen is like he got caught, he swapped sides, he started fighting a couple of the beast pirates, and then the rest just sort of got off screened. It wasn't like significant enough for me to merit him being introduced as a character and then him being placed here as an undercover cop and having the whole backstory and then like it seems like too much setup for him to just do only what he's done so far.
Mhm. Um, the question might be though, is the Marines perspective going to clash with the Cypher Pole perspective? Because as we saw, Drake wasn't aware that Cypher Pole was doing dealings until Doflamingo got taken down, right?
Yeah.
And again, he's a Toby Ropo, and he wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
But then, now that they're here, technically, they are working for the same organization. So
True.
it could even be Drake is the guy that's got the 1% chance of surviving, right?
Hmm.
And he's going to try and ally with CP0, and Lucci might just try to stab him in the back immediately.
Yeah, that is true.
It's possible. Um, there's a theory that the previous user of the Mane Mane no Mi has copied Sussy's face, so maybe she's older than she looks like. Uh, I think Stussy's just Stussy. In all honesty, I don't think there's anything super special about her other than essentially, without sounding bad, right? CP9 had one token woman. CP0, assuming that Khalifa hasn't joined CP0, the token woman is Stussy, considering the rest of the people we've seen are men.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
I think her whole thing will just be like, yeah, I'm a bit older, but I look really young. But it's not like a thing that's explained.
Yeah,
It's just thing, I'm still seeing I look weirdly young for my age.
yeah. I mean, it's
Like I wouldn't be super shocked if she came out and was like, I'm 70, but I don't know if it's going to be like an explained thing
yeah.
of like I'm 70 because of this, this, this.
I mean, she's given off those shakiyaki, shaki vibes.
Mm.
Man, it's weird thinking she's in her 60s. That's weird.
Yeah.
She looks damn good for in her 60s. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so we've talked a bit about the CP0 stuff there. Something else to notice: we've gone from 30,000 versus 5,400 to 12,000 versus 800. That is insane.
Yeah, we have increased our forces, and their forces have like severely diminished.
Honestly, looking at these numbers now, a thought just popped into my head. We're only
Mm.
2,000 off Usopp's lie of I have 10,000 strong.
Ah. Well, if we don't go to Elbaf, do you think this might be the arc where Usopp accomplishes his dream? But then again, that would mean that Usopp's dream gets accomplished first. I don't really know if that's going to happen.
It's hard to tell. In all honesty, I think Usopp's dream is an accumulation of everything that's going on. You know what I mean? It's
Mm.
not going to just be one moment that makes him hit that level.
Yeah.
That being said, also like to point out something here. Kaku is now more like Zoro than ever. Kaku's the one on the crew that's asleep, just ready to go. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's a very minute detail, right?
It is true.
My question rises is, do you think there might be a rematch fight here at all between Luffy and Lucci and Kaku and Zoro? Or potentially even, do you think they might even ally with the Straw Hats if they see how weak and how badly the fight's going for Kaido and Big Mom, even though they said they weren't going to move until Kaido was definitely down?
Mm. No, I don't think they're going to move early. I think they're going to wait. I think they're like that kind of agency where they'll just stand by and like let opportunity pass because it's their orders.
The alternative is they actually do nothing this arc, and once we beat Kaido, they do as they say and they start to move in, and that forces the Straw Hats to leave Wano, and so we don't get to
Mhm.
celebrate with the island.
I mean, it's entirely possible that like some people have been saying like, what if this arc turns into like a massive war and like tons of different parties show up? It's possible that while they're waiting, they're ready to move in. Like the Straw Hat Grand Fleet come, and then all these other people come. You know, like the Blackbeard pirates come, and some of the Revs show up for some reason, and like it just turns into a massive brawl. It could be, you know, or maybe some of those people show up and some don't.
Part of me just still wishes to see Kizaru rock up. I don't think it'll
Yeah.
happen, but if that glinty bastard shows up, I mean, there's not many people that are going to be holding him off at the end of this with how exhausted everyone would be.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a comment here. Zoro is done after King unless Zoro gets another medicine from the Minx. I don't think Zoro is going to be able to stack medicines, and I think you're right. Probably Zoro after King is going to be KO'd.
Yeah.
But
Because they did say like when they gave him the medicine, like, oh, I'm not even sure if it's going to be worth it because of the what's going to happen to him after.
yeah,
So like unless I don't really see that medicine lasting for two entire fights.
so an alternative to consider, right, is Luffy's tied up with Kaido and can't fight.
Mhm.
Zoro is too injured after King and Kaido and can't fight, and he's stuck watching, right? As
Mhm.
CP0 makes a move against Robin. After the way this fight goes later on in the chapter, Sanji does his usual finishing his fight really quickly and being still really like active and useful after his major fight for the arc, right?
Huh?
And we have Sanji versus Rob Lucci. While the Straw Hats, the new Straw Hats that are going to join, fight CP0. So they essentially are like getting their own Enies Lobby arc fights.
Okay.
So we get the return of Mr. Prince, right? Say one of them manages to get their hands on Robin, and one or two members of CP0 get picked off by an invisible force. And then we have
Right.
Raid Suit Sanji appear. He takes on whoever the strongest member of CP0 is here, right? And then we may get, say, Jimbei or Brook, or if Yamato's joining the crew, you know what I mean? Give
Yeah.
them some fights against some CP members. So it's like they've got their own, like everyone in the Straw Hats at some point in time has taken on their fair share of fighting a CP member.
Yeah.
Kaku.
There's also another total possibility that seems like Brooke is being set up to be kind of like Robin's protector right now. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
running in front of her and like beating all the guys down as they run, and he's been fighting next to her this whole time. So it's possible that like when they get attacked, Robin gets like really severely beat up, like his bones get broken and stuff. And then Robin just straight up gets taken. And that could just be a whole nother plot line leading us into what happens after Kaido. Because right now we really don't have anything after Kaido.
True.
And if the series is going to end soon, there has to be kind of something driving the pace really quickly towards the finish line.
You're not wrong. And at this point in time, having 6 poneglyphs, access to 6 poneglyphs after this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, after this, we could just get to the point where if Robin is in our hands, we find One Piece straight away.
Yeah.
So
basically, it could just be like, we're gonna go there, like Robin's gonna get captured, and then there's one more arc of Luffy saving Robin for a final time, and then at the end, Robin's like, okay, I know where One Piece is.
I love this comment. Kaku will be defeated by another. Will be defeated by Brook because Soul King when he was last beaten by Ashura. You know, getting done by the demon sort of auras. That would be
Yeah.
funny. But realistically, this is Oda's time to make CP0 threatening and to make it seem like the Navy and the Marines are a damn big threat in this world, and they're probably the biggest threat in the world. But that's not all the world government has. The world government has essentially another unit close to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This here is the time to go one division of the world government is almost equal to a Yonko crew. You know what I mean? And this is the point in the time in the story where you can set up the final war's big payoff of this is how strong this organization is. You thought,
I mean, they need to be able to prove to us that Roger couldn't just solo the world
yeah,
at the end, at the end of his life.
exactly. All right, so I guess we should just start diving into the Sanji verse. Oh, I mean, there's the stuff with Yamato climbing up and Momo trying to catch the clouds, and that all that is sort of outside of seeing Yamato's full hybrid form in her model. Nothing really major happened, right? But holy shit, this Sanji versus Queen fight.
So weird.
I have not I have not laughed so hard in a chapter in so long. But the
I was actually like in disbelief for a while there. I was
yeah,
just sitting there, just like, no way, this did not happen.
and do you know what some of the worst parts of it is?
Mm.
Some of the worst parts of it is the fact that like at this point in time, Queen's probably the most impressive beast pirate, just with like how much shit he's pulling out. Like I'm actually in awe. Like I was gonna have a video where I was discussing who's a better scientist, Queen or Judge, right? After this, I literally just went Queen. I can't even make the argument anymore. Queen's just so ridiculous that it's just hit that next level of like, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
I mean, I could make the argument that Sanji is Judge's creation. So if Sanji wins
Oh,
this, then we know we
I
have a
would,
winner.
I would agree with that. Except, do you know what? And first things first, let me just address all weekend, has been the Zoro versus Sanji debate because of this damn chapter.
Oh my god.
And it has been so toxic and so insane. It's like you can't have someone just have a power up and it be entertaining. Like, you know what I mean?
Just be like, good on him.
What I will say is this power up though, right? People may not necessarily agree with me, but I would argue if you don't agree with me, you don't necessarily understand what's happening here. The Germa siblings, right?
Yeah.
If you took all the Germa siblings bar Sanji, right?
Yeah.
How strong they are now in the story is how strong a generic person would be if they got the augmentations and a raid suit. They've never, like, they may have trained with Judge, right? But they've never relied on themselves. You know what I mean? They've never developed on themselves. where
Yeah, they're not like.
Sanji was almost equal to them with almost no modification at all, right?
Mhm.
Arguably above Yonji, even with Yonji's modifications, but maybe under Neji and Ichiji, right? Depending
Yeah.
on if you want to have that argument or not, doesn't matter. He's around that level. Then coming out of that, him getting a raid suit essentially put him above them, and then him unlocking his modifications here has put him a step above that again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
So we haven't even seen what he's really going to be able to do with that stuff. Like, we don't know. It's entirely possible that he gets like some Natsu type powers where he can like
it
eat fire and stuff.
it may scale based on off the individual, because we don't know as far as we know, the German siblings don't have haki.
Yeah.
So the fact that Sanji's someone that can utilize haki, knows how to use haki, right, might mean, unlike the other siblings, his modifications might directly scale off his growth with that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The fact that his human body was as strong as steel pre-time skip. You know what I mean? Meaning his
Mhm.
steel body now that he can use haki is like, steel plus. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the fact that Queen breaks his sword over Sanji's face, or over his cheek at the end of this chapter, first thing you got to note is Queen wasn't using armament haki coating on the sword, so it's just regular metal, right?
Yeah.
But the
It's
other thing,
ultra thick metal.
it's ultra thick metal, and that's the sort of thing that
Hung by a dinosaur.
yeah, and that's the sort of thing we've sort of seen in the past, where like when it's a huge sword, someone like Zoro using haki clashes equally with the huge sword that doesn't have haki.
Yeah.
Because, a little bit of metal versus a huge bit of metal needs a little bit of extra energy to sort of counter that equally. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sanji's power up here is freaking good, and it's immense, right? Now, for the people out there that are like, oh, Zoro versus Sanji, Sanji's clearly over Zoro now, or Zoro's clearly over Sanji, look. This has fixed the major problem with Sanji post time skip, which was his durability.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fixed his durability without the need of him wearing the raid suit. Right?
Yeah.
So, not only does he have a power up in the pocket that adds like a 99% damage reduction on top of what he's doing now with the raid suit, right?
Yeah.
But him base now is fighting Queen equally. So he's easily second division commander level without pulling out his power up.
Mm-hmm.
That is fucking insane. That is leaps and bounds from where he was at the end of the time skip, at the beginning of the time skip, getting his shin cracked by Virgo. Like, this is a completely different monster here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And the thing is that all we've seen right now is that he's a little bit harder. We haven't seen that, like, we haven't seen it improve his flame or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that we're implying that he has Lunarian DNA, if he sees King using his abilities in certain ways, there is no reason for Sanji not. Also, interesting thing to actually sort of bring up here is now that he's got this iron skin, right?
Yeah.
He possibly may start using his hands in combat.
Possibly,
He
but
he
I
probably
don't see
won't.
it
He
change.
probably won't, right? But I just like to
Yeah.
dangle that out there, because the only reason he didn't use his hands is because, I'm a cook. If I damage my hands, I'm screwed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the fact that he's got a healing factor and the exoskeleton here, he might start to swap up his fighting style going forward a bit and surprise some people.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, okay, that being said, he's got a freaking healing factor now. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's pretty insane.
Like, it's it's
I
wild.
mean, the healing factor isn't like ridiculous though.
No, he still gets injured, right? But I mean, him now. I mean, they said he broke almost every bone in his body. That's not much different to Zoro blocking
Yeah.
2 Yonko slashes and breaking every bone in his body, is it?
It's true. And then he's just back.
Yeah, just sort of flexes it back into place now.
Yeah.
Again, this could hurt Sanji's character, or it could be best for it. Depends on how it goes further, but it's definitely interesting. But yeah,
I think it's kind of ridiculous for him to get any stronger without learning hockey and things like that. Like if he just didn't yeah, if he didn't unlock any new abilities and he just beat Queen. I feel like as well, I feel like Oda's kind of hesitant on giving hockey to the Straw Hats for the reason that it's like it's kind of a thing that's already been done. Like it's hard to get excited. Like it's easy to get excited when like Luffy unlocks a new hockey ability, but then it's like, oh wow, now Sanji has the same ability that Luffy's had for the last 3 years we've been reading One Piece.
yeah.
It's like kind of hard to get excited about it. So I think Oda's trying to make the Straw Hats stronger in different ways, like the different form, like using their fruits and giving Zeus to Nami, and then now Sanji has this ability, and then I think like all of Zoro's haki enhancements are going to be haki enhancements, but they're going to be swordsmanship based. It's going to be I can now cut better because I have this haki ability, rather than I can harden up my arms. I think that's really good because we only really have to like repeat. We only have to see power increases once among the main characters, which is pretty cool. It's
The,
refreshing.
it's also interesting, right? Because something that people don't necessarily understand about the raid suit is as correct me if I'm wrong here, because there may have been a scene of it happening in the war, so I might be outdated on this. But from memory, we've never seen Sanji use Diablo Jambe in the raid suit, have we?
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure we haven't.
I
Chat,
think so.
please correct me if I'm wrong on this. Because I've been trying to keep track of it in the back of my mind. As far as I'm aware, Sanji can't use Diablo Jambe in the raid suit because it's not designed to amplify his fire. It's designed to amplify his speed and to make him invisible. So the fact that
Yeah.
Sanji's now developing an exoskeleton means he's essentially getting the same durability as when he's got the raid suit on, but he can still
Mhm.
use his Diablo Jambe, meaning the raid suit still works as a reshuffle of his abilities as opposed to a power up in some capacities
Yeah.
as well.
Like
He's more utility
it's
based. It's swapping his utility techniques.
yeah, it's kind of funny because it's almost like they made the Sanji's raid suit with the idea of like him being him. They're like, oh, he's weak, so we need to make him not die from a single punch. And nobody wants to look at him, so let's make him invisible. It's like
Mm.
you can imagine that the thought process that Judge went through making his suit, and it was made for the picture that Judge had in his mind of this weak, pathetic Sanji, rather than current Sanji with augments. So
Also,
yeah, like you were saying, like I don't think his suit will even work on him properly anymore.
if anyone hasn't checked it out already, go check out King of Lightning. He did a video, two videos over the last week talking about Sanji, right? And he brought up some excellent points that Sanji saying he's been feeling off since the second time he used the raid suit. The second time he actually used a raid suit wasn't in combat. It was actually in the bathhouse, perving on Nami, right? A very
Okay.
interesting thing about that is he nosebled all over the raid suit.
Right.
So the raid suit,
Okay.
arguably, right, could have registered that his DNA wasn't living up to its full potential and have been altering him since then.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
So that's a great observation for a potential explanation for the power ups actually taking effect and it not being as big
Mhm.
of an arseball. Um,
Yeah.
but that being said, right, let's go through this a bit. So Sanji is parrying Queen's fists pretty evenly. All right, they're going back and forth. Queen's still coming in like a discount Doctor Octopus. Um, with his multiple limbs smacking on. I love Queen's black coffee attack. It just his Kizaru laser that comes out of his ponytail or out of.
Yeah.
Actually, shit. Is that coming out of his ponytail here, or is that coming out of his tail? Because I thought, didn't he have one
He he
tentacle
does
coming
have
out
one
of
on
his?
his ponytail.
Yeah.
It does look like it's coming out of his. Oh
Um.
no! Unless that's like the back end of his
Yeah.
ponytail, and it's just weirdly drawn, weirdly long.
Yeah. It might be like that, right? But interestingly enough, like it's impressive that he's able to use that technique from his ponytail. That's impressive. Definitely impressive. Now, for those of you that don't know, I'm currently in my big reread through of all of One Piece. I'm currently just finishing up Fishman Island at the moment. So I just recently reread the section where Sanji last used Diable Jambe Bien Cute grill shot against the Kraken, right? And I love how it's consistent here with the fact that it's Sanji burning and scoring and sending tons of meat flying. This is probably one of his stronger kicks. Not his strongest,
Yeah, definitely.
but it's actually interesting that it's like it still scales roughly the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I've been finding through my big reread through of One Piece that the power scaling isn't nearly as muddled as it has been when I watched the anime, and you know, seeing Fodder take 20 Gear 2 punches from a Gatling to the face and be like, ugh, and then die. Whereas in the manga, it's like one shot for everyone's just done, KO. You know what I mean? So it's good to see consistency happening with some of these moves for people that do like the power scaling. And I feel like everyone's a little bit guilty of enjoying power scaling at One Piece from time to time.
Yeah.
I know
I
I
was
am.
actually I was thinking about it the other day. I really love the power scaling, but at the same time, like I could imagine being an author, like being Oda, and just being super annoyed because realistically, the reason he writes things is from a narrative perspective. I don't think he really cares about the power scaling. I think when he has a character say like, "Oh, you'll never beat that person. That person's even stronger than me." He's not trying to be like, "Oh, so this way all the power scalers will know." He's just trying to build suspense. You know what I mean? He's not trying to like create a ranking, like a tier list. And it's funny because people are like, "Oh, that means this person's above this on the tier list." But at the same time, I love doing it myself.
Oh, it's hard. It's hard not to. But I mean, like even that, right? Like if I was to build my own tier list at this point in time, I'm probably putting the Big Mum commanders over the Beast Pirate commanders, except maybe having Queen above Smoothie because we haven't seen shit from Smoothie, right? But even that's all just potential headcanon and like matchups and shit like that. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I think at the end of this arc, you'll feel differently.
You reckon?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. It'll definitely be interesting. Alright, so we've got a comment here. There's an explanation in Twitter about Sanji's raid suit enhancing his latent potential. Just like how his siblings can use their elements even without it, but specifically enhances their abilities by wearing one. I would agree with that, except for the fact that the stealth black raid suit is specifically not designed to enhance Sanji's fire, but to actually make him invisible.
Also,
And
maybe that's the thing. Maybe once, maybe as he put it on, as he wore it more, it started like developing
yeah,
his
well,
ability. So at the start, it didn't. It wasn't adapted to it. Now it's like developing with
yeah,
him.
no, I can definitely see that. Holy shit. Okay, so Queen's docking penis snake. I
Oh
can't
my
describe
god,
that. I can't describe that any other way. I was
that's the
in
best
tears.
description. Yeah.
I was in tears, laughing my ass off. It was goddamn hilarious. And I love how he straightens out his neck and then he uses his tail, like he smacks the back wall behind him to propel himself.
Yeah.
And I think my favorite panel in this entire chapter is seeing Markov and Izo doing the NL phase, seeing him propel himself, because they're just like, what the fuck is this? I love that reaction. You know what I mean? Like Marco, and I also love how Marco's actually starting to develop a old man Hio hairstyle because
Yeah.
he's in Wano. He's like his little tuffles starting to get all flamey. But I loved this. I according to the translations as well, the wording that Queen uses here in Japanese is the same phrase that Sasaki used before he used his helicopter neck.
Yeah.
Which
So meme attack, basically.
yeah, so I love how Oda set up the gag with Sasaki. And everyone's just like, oh, that's hilarious, blah, 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 blah,
Right.
so
I
random.
think
And then
I
doubles
think
down
if
on
it
it in an even
wasn't
better way.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't for Sasaki, I would have just been like, this is so fucking stupid.
Yeah, but
But because he set it up beforehand, it's like, okay, apparently this is a thing. This is just,
yeah,
they're all meme.
and I was actually like, in my live reaction, I was like, dude, we saw Little Garden, we know Brachiosauruses can't do this. So I was like, imagine if like it's a mind over matter thing, and just because Queen believes he can do it, because he believes dinosaurs can do it, he can do it.
Yeah.
And he's modified himself however he needs to accomplish it. Same as Sasaki. You know what I mean? Imagine if it's just like the ultimate ability of an ancient zone is if you can believe you can do it with your fruit, you can achieve it, but you just don't know that you can. Um, this was so stupid, so funny. I love how it's very reminiscent of the Boa sisters, though. You know, it's bringing back
Yeah.
Luffy versus the Boa sisters, but again, in a funnier way, it's Sanji who would have loved one of the Boa sisters to choke him out, getting choked out by a fat middle-aged man. Um, again, I was in tears laughing. There's something I need to point out here though that was like, what the shit? And that's Queen saying he has done this to tons of armament haki masters.
Yeah. And they haven't been able to get out.
I I need to know who's been beaten by this. What classifies a haki master? Because
Armament Hockey Master specifically.
the only times we've ever talked about armament haki masters, right, is Rayleigh, Shanks, and Burgo. Those are the only time I think in the story that people have been referred to as haki masters.
Yeah.
I need to know more about this. I need context on this. Queen, who you been choking out as a big old snake? Oh, good thing I'm not monetized. Otherwise, I'd be definitely getting demonetized just solely because of Queen this chapter. The panel of showing Queen from the side is kind of a gag for Kakus Kilimanjaro attack. Oh, for Kaku's. Yo, I get that. I see you there. Oh, mate. Queen. Queen. Oh, I don't count Yamato, but it's between Queen and Ulti for my favorite beast pirate.
I think it's Ulti. I love
Like,
Ulti.
I love Ulti. She just like anytime she was on screen, I was like, I vibe with the energy she gives off and the dumb shit she does, right?
Yeah.
But man, Queen has just been consistently like he's not my cup of tea, but he's the person that just keeps handing me drinks, and I'm just like, man, I don't want this, but cheers for giving it to me, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's just been consistently funny this whole arc, but in just the weirdest way. And I love it here. I love how he's got weapons that work on voice command,
Yeah.
and him describing his attacks causes friendly fire.
To me, the second time it shot, I was a bit like, all right, come on, that's a bit thick. You landed on a bit thick
I,
there.
I thought it was even funnier the fact that the second time it happened, he literally let go of Sanji because he did himself in. Um, but yeah, it is freaking hilarious. You know what I mean? Uh,
Mm.
Male, queen, female, ulti. I mean, yeah, they're probably my. Until we get Kaido's backstory, right? They're probably my favorite two beast pirates so far because, like, they've just. They've probably been the most on screen out of all the beast pirates, haven't they? Arguably.
Yeah.
They're definitely they're definitely they've definitely been around doing some of the funniest shit this entire time. All right. So then we get to Queen. We get to Sanji having broken multiple bones in his body and coming out like a spaghetti zombie, and just flexing his bones back into place, and him sort of coming to the realization that this is the exoskeleton that his brothers have, and then getting a sword broken on his cheek, and Queen just being like, "Oh, fuck."
Also, that little image, that flashback image of him punching his brother in the head and just doing nothing.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine getting bullied by your brothers when your dad hates you as well and like is encouraging them, and you can't even fight back because they're all made of essentially steel. There's
Dude,
just nothing that you can do against them. That'd
pretty
be
sure
so
already broke
traumatizing.
his. From memory, he broke his hand doing that.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. It is crazy. Um, I've got to ask a question for you here though, right? Is Sanji clearly over Queen with this power up now? Is Sanji going to wrap up this fight quickly? Or are
Uh,
we potentially going to see an awakening from Queen? And it's going to, like, Sanji's going to be like, oh, I've got this power up, start to overwhelm you a bit, and then Queen's going to be like, well, screw you, I've got an awakening.
yeah, I mean, look, Queen hasn't shown an awakening, he hasn't shown any kind of haki. He's potentially got some more lasery stuff
No,
going on with him.
he's showcased armament Haki once.
Yeah, I mean, like in terms of like pure attacking, like, he hasn't been
Yeah.
like constantly attacking with haki. I think Queen has a lot more to give, and I think Sanji has to have a few more chapters to like learn his powers and show us what he can do. If he can use this fire more or whatever. I don't think he's just going to be like, my body's hard now, I win.
Um, it is interesting, right? Because now that his body's going hard, do you reckon he's potentially going to start developing the other side effects, like starting to lose his emotions a bit? Because
Ooh.
I could see a subplot of Sanji starting to become an unfeeling bastard, like his siblings,
Mm.
and
Him kind of like getting chopped. Yeah.
Chopper has to recreate the drugs that his mum took, and he's got to dose himself to
Mm.
keep his emotions in check.
Yeah. By the way, when you were talking about the three CP0 members,
Mm-hmm.
like who matches up against them, it'd be kind of funny if we had a rematch. But instead of the wolf dude, it was, you know how Sanji originally fought the girl and couldn't fight her because he doesn't hit
Ooh,
women. He fights Stussy and just
Stussy,
beats the hell out of her.
but he's got no emotions, so he just
Yeah.
like cleans her up.
And like in like a really brutal way too. And everyone, like all the readers are just like, whoa, Sanji, dude, calm down, dude.
That would be pretty
That'd be
crazy.
pretty, yeah, that'd be pretty out there. But then again, that would require us to have like Zoro up after King and
Well, okay.
Luffy up after Kaido and
One thing I've got to take into note here, right? So Queen cleanly hits Sanji here, right?
Mhm.
To For anyone that's like,
in the
oh, well,
back of the head,
well, it's
no
actually
protection.
if you look from what I can understand from it, right? It's actually he hits him on
Mm.
the side on the cheek, and that's why
Well, yeah, I
underneath his
mean,
cheeks pressed in. But it's like from behind on the
yeah,
head. It's like
yeah,
gonna
that's what
cut
I
his
mean. Like,
neck. Yeah.
yeah, what I mean is like his guard wasn't up; it was from behind. Like he wasn't protecting himself. He just copped the hit,
So I
but
just
didn't
have
do
to
anything.
say, right? For anyone that's like, oh, now that Sanji's developing this, he's only around his siblings, right?
Hmm.
Ichiji got so quickly low diffed in his raid suit by Katakuri that we saw him literally off screen just get caught hands on. Katakuri's got his hand around his throat. Ichiji's bleeding out the face, and he's just nearly KO'd.
Yeah, true.
Seeing Queen here hit Sanji at full pelt with a weapon, and nothing happened.
Yeah,
That
he literally goes, "Huh?" He
that
barely noticed it.
that to me is why I'm saying it might upscale based on like your haki. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like
Um,
honestly, like his reaction there, where he goes like, "Huh," and his cheek is pressed in that much. It's honestly like he felt the pressure from the hit, but not the pain
yep.
from the hit. You know what I mean? Like it just kind of pushed his cheek in, and he was like, "Oh, what was that? Why did my cheek get pushed in?" It
So
wasn't even like a ow that hurt.
I asked this in my live discussion, in my live reaction, but I got to ask you now.
Mhm.
Sanji cleanly over Dofi now. Dofi not being able to cut Sanji.
Oh shit. Oh, I don't know. We'll have to see more. If he takes a laser bolt, I'm gonna say yes.
Oh, dude, if he takes, I think a laser should counter it. I think a laser should counter it, right? Because
Yeah.
it's a Kizaru attack. Like there's a difference in grade with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it's possible that it's not the same like amount of power, like amount of
I,
energy as Kizura's lasers. And it's also possible that like it'll hit him and it won't like go through him, but it'll like burn his skin a bit, kind of like his fire kicks do. And also like the reason why I say like he's not just gonna win because he got harder. When he did that grill shot to him, that is like one of Sanji's bigger moves. And Queen wasn't really hurt after it.
I mean,
Like he got kicked back and stumbled a bit, but
Sanji didn't deal a hell of a lot of pain here, but something in Sanji's defense here that I'm gonna point out, right, is Sanji has never actually suffered from not dealing enough damage. His durability has just been so low that he hasn't been able to last in a fight enough for the damage to stack.
yeah.
Sanji either overwhelms or got overwhelmed so far
To
in the
be
story.
to be fair though, we haven't really seen him fight anyone this tough.
Yes.
We've seen him fight kind
So
of like mere mortal type people.
so what I'm saying is here, right, is this attack actually I think hurt Queen, but it didn't do what it would normally do against other people that Sanji fights here because Queen's whole thing and the Beast Pirates' whole thing is they've got HP for days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially like this isn't just a dude with a lot of HP. This is Jack, the Drought, plus armor. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Plus a metal body. So it's like it's gonna it's gonna be hard. But if Sanji starts fighting him here and starts doing some internal damage with his fire, which is one of the big things that his fire does, it does a lot of internal damage, right? And the internal
Hmm.
damage stacks up a bit, but it's not enough to take out Queen. I could see him after fighting Queen for a little bit, relenting, putting the raid suit on, and finishing Queen with a kick that's just so much more damage because of just so much more speed.
Yeah.
Like
I can understand that. Yeah.
I could
Um.
see Sanji kicking him clean on the top of the head so much that it like breaks his long neck downwards in
Mm,
him. You know what I mean? Like you know
yeah.
the kick he did against Luffy when they were having their tuffle,
Yeah.
doing something like that and just coming clean down and just chopping Queen's neck in half.
Hmm. Another thing that I wanted to mention is like, um, Sanji having like a harder body probably going to make his kicks harder as well.
Yep.
And this whole time, like Queen saying, "Put on your raid suit, put on your raid suit." Even if Sanji put on his raid suit, Queen was still pretty confident he'd win.
Yep.
So like it seems like Queen kind of knows the strength of the raid suits. And then when he tried to cut him with his sword and it broke, he was like shocked. Like, what the hell? Like, how did that? So it honestly seems like his body right now is stronger than at least Queen's experience with how tough a raid suit is.
Now,
So he is at least over whatever experience Queen has had. So whether or not Queen has seen one of the Vinsmoke kids in their raid suit,
see,
and Sanji has now just been straight up stronger than them.
and that lays another question. So Queen and Judge know each other from Mads. So
Hmm.
is Queen going on 20-year plus outdated information? Or
Yeah.
is Queen going on his in the past since Sanji's left the Vinsmokes had some kind of interaction with them?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of different like things there. Because it might be as simple as in the past, Queen was aware of what Judge's technology research was about, right? And Queen just views
Uh-huh.
himself as a better scientist, so he's like, no matter what he makes, I'll be whatever I've made's better. And he's just kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
going
yeah.
like, oh shit, okay, no, okay, I'm sleeping on him a little bit here.
Mhm.
First things first. There's a break next week. That sucks. It always sucks when we get a big break, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I now have to ask the question: do you think we're going to get an Act Four?
I don't know. Three hasn't ended yet.
Do you think getting the CP0 at the beginning of the chapter was enough to think that there might be more acts?
I
Has it
mean,
started to sway you either way?
to be honest, I've kind of lost interest in the acts. I've been so inconsistent with how many chapters they are, or like how it's been feeling. I mean, we thought Act Three was going to be over like ages ago. Like when Luffy
Mm,
started fighting Kaido, we thought it was going to end.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I honestly just kind of think as far as I'm concerned, Act 3 can just continue until the arc ends
Act 3
at
will
level
never end.
9. I don't know. I don't really care, to be honest. I expect a twist coming up. So whether or not they put a twist in there and then they say it's the end of an act and then they bring in a new act after the twist, but like I don't think it's makes a difference
So
in calling it a different act.
could could shit metaphorically hit the fan if the world government sent CP agents here? Um, to see like okay, for example, do you think CP will move if Big Mum goes down here, or is it only if
No,
Kaido goes down?
only if Kaido goes down.
So if Kaido goes
I
down,
think that's how significant Kaido is. I think like they're not even if they knew. I don't even know if they know Big Mom's here, but like even if they knew Big Mom was here, um, I think they're just like, no, if Kaido goes down. I think Kaido is that significant.
okay, what would be more impactful? Kaido being beaten and everyone's seeing it and being like, oh, yes, we're over, and CP0 reporting it back to the ship? Or the citizens seeing Luffy punch Kaido and seeing him get punched off the island? And we have the CP0 ships on their way to on their way to Wano, see Kaido fall unconscious in between their ships in the water. And follow up, I mean, fuck, if you see Kaido go down, you think it's the right idea to make a move? You won't make a
Yeah,
move now because it's Kaido, right? But if he goes down, yeah, we'll clean him up. Like, you're
I
confident enough
think
to
their
take Kaido yourself?
assumption. I think their assumption is the only way to beat Kaido would be multiple people all doing like poisons and scummy moves. I don't think they're like, oh, Luffy's 1v1 in Kaido. Well, if Luffy 1v1's Kaido, we'll move in. I don't know.
Ugh.
And even then, I think like Kaido has that kind of like aura about him where that Luffy just doesn't have right yet. And so it's like, oh, Luffy beat Kaido, that's fine. He must be tired. We can take Luffy. Whereas if it's the other way around, it's like, no, Kaido probably just stomped him into the ground and he's probably perfectly fine.
I think, I don't know if it'll happen this year, like Oda originally forecast. I think Act 3 might wrap up soon. If it's going to happen. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I need your opinion here because I saw some people theorizing now. Since CP0's showing up, right? Do you think Blackbeard's going to make a move for Wano? Because remember how the last thing we saw Blackbeard say was, oh, if they're just going to take it, we might as well claim the prize for ourselves.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a possibility that he thought, oh, well, if if the government's just going to take over Wano because Kaido's KO'd, I might as well claim it for myself? Or is it still more likely that he was talking about something warlord related or revolutionary related?
I hope it's something different. Because the thing is I don't see Luffy beating Kaido and then immediately beating Blackbeard here, which would imply that if Blackbeard comes to Wano and then goes down, he's getting beaten by someone else.
Or
And I don't want that to happen.
or Blackbeard shows up, Shanks intercepts, high tier fight between Shanks and Blackbeard. Blackbeard just wins. Weakened Blackbeard versus weakened Luffy. It probably takes too much away from the significance though, in all honesty. So I don't think that'll really ever
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, I think like Kaido going down will be the biggest chapter in this entire arc. So like, yeah, I can't see anything else beating it. I mean, like, obviously it depends on your own.
It
You know,
still feels like
let's say like Robin gets captured. You could argue that's the biggest, but
it still feels like we're way too off because not only are we getting new factions showing up, but it's like, dude, we need a Kaido backstory. We need the Rocks backstory. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, this arc, when it's done, will probably be the best arc in One Piece. Like, I don't think there's like Wano has been so good, and there's been so many 10 out of 10 chapters, right? That if you put nostalgia aside and just like compared it to other arcs for just how much hype stuff has happened, and I'm including the intermissions here. By the end of this arc, this will probably be the best arc of One Piece.
Problem is, I think it's really hard to put nostalgia aside.
Oh,
I watched
100%.
episode 1 the other night. I watched episode 1 with Leto. I was just like the whole time it was just a massive nostalgia trip.
Dude, how far have we come, my sir?
Dude, Luffy is so savage to Cody. Kobe. He's just like, you're a pussy and
Do you know?
a Mora.
Do you know what's actually beautiful though? Again, reading Fisherman Island, he treats Shirahoshi the exact same way.
I know, yeah, and he treats Momo the same way right now.
Yeah.
It's like what he does. He takes like print, and the thing is like if Vivi, I think Vivi is the same thing. I actually wanted to bring that up. People were like smack talking Vivi the other day. I think the fact that she is like kind of useless and stuff is like she's in the same boat as Kobe and Shirahoshi and Momo, where it's like they've got potential, but they're just like normal dudes. And then Luffy comes along and basically just says like, harden up, get it together, you suck, and then saves their lives. And then they're just like they look up to him so much that instead of being offended, they like follow his footsteps and become great people in the future.
I
I think
love
that's
it.
kind of like what Vivi is. Yeah.
All right, we've got a few chats here, so let's get through them a bit. Given that the strongest can fight on for days, and that zones are fast regenerating, even if we see that the Alliance wins, I think they would just join the naval battle along with Big Mum Pirates, CP0, Straw Hats. Beast Pirates, top fighters, he means. So, okay, I'm assuming he's saying we beat them here, then when we start to leave the island, they get back up, and then it's Pirates versus Navy. I mean, shit, actually. Yo, we got the Beast Pirates here, we got the Straw Hat Pirates here, but we've got the Kid Pirates, the Heart Pirates, the Hawkins Pirates, the On Air Pirates, the Drake Pirates. There's a freaking fair few pirate crews that, in worst case situation, need to flee the island if they're not already dead.
What I think would be cool. I think it'd be cool, like after Luffy beats Kaido, CP0 starts moving in. Someone intercepts them. Maybe like Big Mom's crew, like more of Big Mom's crew show up, and then like Blackbeard shows up, Shanks shows up, and then it's possible that like no one actually makes it to the island because everyone's just having like a massive
Massive,
multi-way
yep.
sea war, and then Luffy's like there in the middle of Wano, just like healing up, ready for whoever
Ooh.
wins to come and like face him,
Could you
like the
imagine?
king of the hill.
Okay, two things. One, this is going to sound so left field, right? But the Mountain God, I feel like, needs to show up one more time in the story for something significant.
Isn't like that big pig?
Yep. And the reason I
Did
just
he get
thought of
cut in
that,
half?
yep, but it got sewn back together, and it's what used to carry Odin around.
Okay.
Because number two, and this is something I'm going to be hampering on for ages, the only way for Wano to become open borders is for them to get off their perch. So imagine if a massive naval battle with multiple factions does start up, right? All around Wano, with everyone trying to get into Wano. And the way they find out Kaido goes down is the island literally gets knocked down to sea level, disrupting the whole fight, only for them to see that Kaido's done. That would be pretty damn impactful. But
Okay, here's the thing. If that happens, if that big naval battle is going to break out, I think it's going to happen in the next couple of chapters. I think next chapter or the one after, we're going to see we're going to go back to CP0 talking for a little bit, and then we're going to see on their horizon another fleet of ships sailing up towards them.
okay, we have Smoothie and Daifuku versing Rob Lucci and Kaku. So Rob Lucci fighting someone that's commander level would give a good indicator of how strong he is, especially if he's overwhelming her, right?
Yeah.
Kaku fighting someone like Daifuku and just blitzing him would put him on commander level, wouldn't it? Nice cheeky way to
Barely,
put
to
some.
be honest.
Hmm?
Barely, to be honest.
Barely?
Yeah.
I don't know. I
I don't
think.
know. Cracker's like another league above Daifuku, I think.
I mean, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that. But I mean, like, comparing Daifuku to Flying Six and Jack, I don't think there's a huge gap in between them there. Do you?
I don't think there's much between Daifuku and the Flying Six. Not really.
Yeah. And so the Flying Six and Jack, I mean, there's a bit of a
I
jump.
mean, I
But, like,
think no. I just think Jack's been disrespected. I think Jack is a monster.
he. He is a monster, but man, I feel so bad. The Mammoth Boys must be so hurt because he went down without a single named attack. Oh, that's some disrespect. That's almost. What's more disrespectful? Jack going down like a bitch, or Smoothie never having been shown on screen, but
I
being
mean,
maintained at second commander level?
Jack is like Perospero.
Yeah, he's the most reliable. He's just doing his stuff. You know what I mean? He's just constantly doing a mission.
Like, yeah, he went down like at the same time as Perospero to essentially the same enemy. I think the difference being though, I think Perospero is probably a bit more deadly, and then Jack is a bit more tanky, or a lot more tanky.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because
Although,
Jack did like tank blows from two Sulong forms for I don't know, like a minute, and then he went down, which is a long time.
no, he got one shot by them in Sulong. They're literally
I
low.
don't know if it was a one shot. I think it was like a cup. It would have been
Nah,
like a few blows.
no. If you go back to it, it's a single one shot. But it was a tag team one shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. I think it got off screen because I can't imagine Kaido saying, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's not that you're weak. It's just because they're strong." If he just straight up got one shot, like, I can't imagine Kaido giving any credit to someone if they just got immediately one shot.
I don't know because you got to think like
It
2 minutes
looked
before that, Jack did
way
fight
that
like the entire minx other than them in Sulong solo essentially.
I don't know. It looked like the way that he went down was he got worn down by just constantly taking hits.
Hmm.
My memory of it is that it was like it went into Sulong and then it kind of cut away and then it showed other people and then a bit later it came back and then Jack was like,
But
oh, and
I
then
think
collapsed.
I think what that was is like remember in the Chimera Ant arc how we had like 20 or 30 minutes worth of multiple episodes showing what everyone was doing, but it was all supposed to be the same 20 seconds just from like everyone else's perspective.
Yeah,
I think it's more like that where like
I
all
get
these things are
that.
happening at the exact same moment, so we're constantly like cutting to the exact same moment in different like sections.
Yeah, I get that, but I feel like if Oda wanted to push it that straight up one shot him, it would have been a bigger thing. It would have been like a big, a really big panel of them doing this big combo attack, like all in one go. They go into Sulong, big panel of them doing this big combo attack. Jack just blows apart and then passes
Yo,
out.
do you
I
know
feel
what
like it would have
actually
been a bit more of a spectacle.
this is gonna come out of nowhere, right? Do you know what actually made me probably the happiest I've been in a long time?
Hmm?
If we got a spin-off chapter, how well do you remember Pirates of the Caribbean?
Decently well.
Decently. Remember in the second movie when they're fighting over the dead man's chest, and they're like, it's like Jack Butler and um, someone else, and they're fighting on like the mill wheel and stuff like that, like, and it's just like a really random back. Oh, it's Will, Jack, and Butler fighting over the chest with Davy Jones's heart in it.
Okay, yeah, kind of.
I would love, I would love a Zoro Killer Kaku all fighting for Robin. And it's just a meme fight of swordsmen trying to stab each other in the back and like tripping over each other, trying to mess with each other, just like them fighting around her. and like none of them can actually reach her. But she's like, based on like the fighting, like based on like the arena around them, shit's like getting destroyed, and like like the level falls, so she starts to fall down to the next level. So they're trying to save her and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I feel like I need that now. I
Yeah.
and I need Sanji to be in a situation where he can't help, but he has to watch Zoro trying to save Robin. So he's like cheering him on for the women, and he hates it.
Okay. In any plotline of the story, can you imagine Robin dying in this arc?
No,
No.
no.
Because she does have that whole thing with all of those CP agents where she screams, "I want to live." It'd be pretty hectic if Luffy beats Kaido, everyone's celebrating, and then suddenly you just hear Robin screaming, and then she just gets stabbed through the heart,
I
and
think
like Brook's been like crushed. He'll recover, but he's been like crushed into like dust.
I think it's a no because I think they need Robin alive because I think the world government might have their own poneglyph that leads to an ancient weapon that they've attained, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they will kill her after they get the information. You know what I'm saying?
Possible, but I mean, I don't think she necessarily has to survive. I'm not saying I think it'll happen, but I don't think
I
she has to survive because, like, in Luffy's Joy Boy, maybe.
I mean, if that
If
was
he
the
is,
case, why didn't Rob Lucci pre-time skip just execute her instead of taking her to Marine
well,
headquarters?
I think at that point, yeah, probably they just like kind of wanted to use her. I don't know actually,
I think it's
because
the same thing.
because I don't even think they would. Because wouldn't M know
No,
be able to read it?
because
No.
because we're a
Yeah, maybe the language they used was like a language that
only the
M couldn't
Kozuki knew it,
understand.
right? So
Yeah, yeah.
Im and his cohorts probably don't know how to read them. They may know what's on some of them, but not be able to decipher it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
it
yeah,
may be
right.
like, we're gonna execute her, but if you tell us where an ancient weapon is before we kill you, GG. It's worth
Mm,
keeping you alive for that extra week. You know what I mean?
true.
Alright, we've got some more comments here. Uh, mm, 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 mm. Maybe Elbaf arc is just Straw Hats laying low and recovering since Usopp is friends with some giants. Like Elbaf is a Sky Island arc. Giant army protecting them, but SSG will attack them at the same time if it's parallel with Sky Island, like Shandians is parallel with SSG with tech and their main weapons. Honestly, I'm on the impression since we're in the versus the Yonko saga, right? If Wano isn't the final arc in the saga, and we've got one more arc of it, I think we need next arc to get Luffy meets Shanks. So if it is in Elbaf, like I could see Shanks meeting Luffy in Elbaf. I'm not sold on it, but like I feel like if they were going to meet on an island, that's the island that they would meet on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That being said, at this point in time in the story, is really hard to tell because if Wano's going to go open borders, the Straw Hats aren't going to be able to relax here, especially since CP is present. Meaning, oh shit. I didn't even think of this. Okay, Luffy beats Kaido. Shit goes down. We win. Yippee-ki-yay! Round of applause for the Straw Hats, right? In the chaos of it, CP0 arrive at Wano and they set up an outpost, right? And they regroup. They know that the Straw Hats are trying to recover on the island and that the citizens will be grateful to the Straw Hats. So they devise a plan to try and kidnap Robin from the Straw Hats while they're recovering, and also all the poneglyph information that they have. Like a big sweep. So maybe CP0 is being set up for sort of like at the end of Eni's lobby, where we had Garb and Garb and Aokiji show up and wreak havoc on the Straw Hats.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
They could chase him off at that point, could they not? That way, the Straw Hats have a big celebration and that on Wano, and it makes the end of the arc, the epilogue of the arc, which in a 5-act play is supposed to be the shortest part of the arc, is just the Straw Hats fighting against the CP agencies to try and escape Wano with poneglyphs and poneglyph information.
Yeah, I could see that. But in that scenario, do you think Robin's not going to get captured? Do you think that whole plot line is just sort of null and she's just going to get away?
Robin's been captured once. If Robin gets captured again, it's only going to be by the Blackbeard pirates, I think. But I think this is a great red herring here being brought up again, this plot line at this point, and with CP0, because Oda did throw in the line at Zoe from Nekomamushi and Inuarashi that, like, big names are going to be coming for you, Robin. What are you going to do about it? You gonna help out or are you gonna bail? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think CP0 being active here might not be the only group that tries to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can't see from like that narrative side. I can't see why they would have all of this CP0 stuff involved and Robin position. And like Robin's already had a fight, so just seems kind of like I don't know. I can't see them coming after her, and then she has like another really big cool fight, and then gets away.
Alternatively, there has been enough set up in the story in the past for the Revs to show up. Because we had the whole plot line of the Revs in Dressrosa finding out about the drunken iron ore, which comes from Wano, and them trying to track down where it comes from to put a stop to them supplying it to the underworld.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe some form of revolutionaries show up and actually defend Robin as well. Like, I know that might be really far fetched at this point in time, but I mean, I don't think anyone was expecting more ships to show up now of all time.
I mean, I don't think anyone was expecting Queen to be a snaker. So
No, he's just a big angry dick of a guy, isn't he? Imagine in the anime how bad it's going to be because he's sort of like a yellowy skin color.
mm-hmm.
He's gonna be nasty. He's gonna be straight nasty. All right. That being said, is there anything else you want to bring up? Anything else you want to touch on?
I'm pretty happy. I thought it was an awesome chapter.
Do you have any predictions for the next chapter since we're going on break?
No, I think if there's going to be something massive next chapter, I think what I was saying, like maybe you're going to see another fleet in the background of the CP agencies. Um, but I don't know. I think honestly, I think it's just going to keep going this way. Um, this chapter wasn't really much or any of Luffy and Kaido, so I think it might maybe it's going to alternate. Like one chapter is more um, Luffy than it is Sanji and Zoro, and the next chapter is more Sanji and Zoro than it is Luffy, something like that.
I could see that.
So I'm hoping we see a bit more of Luffy next chapter.
Um, see, it's hard because CP0 says they're not going to intervene until Kaido goes down, except the members that are here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part of me almost wants to see Rob Lucci, Kid, and Law versus Big Mom.
Right.
As like a good alliance that could potentially take down Big Mom. What if Shanks will rendezvous with the Straw Hats while sailing and then go to Elbath with Shanks as their lookout for enemy? No one would like to fight a Yonko right after. I mean, no one except for the Navy. And the only reason I say the Navy is because at this point in time, SSG for okay. How do I put this in like a fair way? The pacifistas are strong. We may not think they're as strong now as they were pre-time skip, but like the pacifistas are damn strong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever SSG is above pacifistas in terms of strength, and to the world government replaces Mihawk, the world's greatest swordsman, who arguably is stronger than Shanks individually. So essentially a Yonko, an individual Yonko, right? It's stronger than the Boa Hancock and the Kuja Pirates Alliance. So an island of highly trained Haki users, right?
Yeah.
It was stronger than Dressrosa, which had the Doflamingo family and the Dressrosa army, essentially. You know what I mean? It was stronger than Kuma, who's a former king, but has some ridiculous abilities for aiding people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was stronger than currently. It was stronger than Buggy, a huge group of Impel Down escapees, a squad of 5 giants, and his entire organization. Because when they say replace the warlords, they're not just talking about the individual warlords. They're talking about what they bring to the table as like a group.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we may not have seen the Kuja show up for Marineford, but like at the end of the day, the idea is it's the pirate and their crew.
Yeah.
To top all of that, you really need to be bringing something out that's around the first division commander level in strength, which is pretty crazy to think about. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Even
that's true.
like the warlords are a big group, and it's not just disabolishing the warlords because now we've got SSG, right? It's we have SSG, we're going to disabolish the warlords and then go kill the warlords. You know what I mean? It's the confidence that those individuals and the things they brought to the table we're going to take out now.
Yeah. I mean, I think the main thing is like they have to. Because if they abolish the warlords and then the warlords go join all the Yonko because they have nothing else to do, you've just put their power on that side.
I may not have really mentioned it properly here, but Weevil, the guy that's described as scary physically as a young Whitebeard, right? To me, whether or not you think it's prime Whitebeard or whatever, when he's talking physically, right? I'm sitting here going like, well, what was Whitebeard physically when he was younger? He's essentially a Haki master. You know what I mean? That's scary. That is scary. And Weevil has the devil fruit, so like it may not be the exact same as Whitebeard, but it's like you essentially are saying you've got something strong enough to replace someone that's comparable in Mihawk to a Yonko, and someone that's directly compared to a Yonko in their younger days.
Yeah.
Like whatever SSG is, for it to stand for a second with what the hype is for it, realistically, someone of significant note has to be taken down by it. Now, the reason I don't think SSG is going to show up at Wano or an Elbaf if Shanks is guarding them is because if Shanks got taken down by the SSG, that would sort of harm his character more than anything, since he's not a target of it at the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it would tarnish Luffy's efforts against the Beast Pirates and the Big Mum Pirates for SSG to come in and then finish them off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I genuinely feel scared on Mihawk's behalf, on Weevil's behalf, on Boa's behalf, because I think if we cut out of Wano, we're going to see Shanks move, but we may see head rolls. Like we may see people that we've cared about since bloody chapter 50 of the story in handcuffs, being told that they're done. You know what I mean? And that can happen, right? SSG can come out, flex hard, all the warlords can be captured. Because you've got to remember, Bon Clay's an impel down. They're not going to just get executed. They're going to get taken to impel down like Dofi, aren't they? So just because they get beaten doesn't mean they're out of the story. But for the Marines to maintain their for the world to maintain perception of the Marines, SSG has to pull through here. Because if it doesn't, they're a joke. There's no threat in the world government. If the world government, like, if the world government says, oh, you know, we don't need the warlords anymore, we're stronger than out them, but you can't even beat the warlords, you're a joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I genuinely think that shit is about to hit the fan. But seriously, because we need the fight, like sort of a training arc for Straw Hats before they face the Marines, I think the Straw Hats will face them. You mean SSG, or do you think the Straw Hats are going to fight the Red Hair Pirates? Because I can see a Davy back fight, but it also depends on when you see Luffy meeting Shanks fate-wise. Because is Luffy going to meet Shanks when he's Shanks' equal? Or will Luffy maybe not even get to see Shanks until after he becomes Pirate King? You know what I mean? Like, the returning of the Straw Hat to Shanks might be more than just, I'm a pirate on equal terms to you. It might be, I've surpassed you. I've surpassed you, take your hat back now. Because Luffy's whole goal was, I'm going to make a crew that's better than your crew. The only way for that to happen, really, is for Luffy to become the Pirate King already. Isn't it?
At the same time, though, Shanks specifically said, like, give this back to me when you are a great pirate, not when you are
Yep.
a pirate king.
Yep. So I could see it being either way, right? I could see in Luffy's mind being a great pirate, meaning you're a better pirate than Shanks.
Or
Or
you took down a Yonko.
yeah, you know what I mean. It's it's hard to it's hard to see where it's going to go from here, but it is going to be insane nonetheless. Definitely, definitely going to be pushing the limits. Like they will teach the weaker members of the main fighters recovering, teaching directly. I mean, look, I don't think the Red Hair Pirates would teach the Straw Hats jack shit because I think you're not like when the Straw Hats meet the Red Hair Pirates. I don't think you realize how narratively driven it's going to be. Not only is it going to be Luffy meeting Shanks and giving the Straw Hat back, but the other focus is going to be the completion of Usopp's story arc, becoming a brave warrior of the sea like his dad. He'll be standing on equal footing to his dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As a
I
Yonko
think it's
topic.
going to be them, like, showing off what they've achieved up until this point rather than gaining more.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think that'll happen. The problem now in lies, do we get that happy moment? Or do we get tragedy struck again? Because if this war is to parallel Marineford in any capacity, we failed at Marineford. Now, we can't fail here. Ooh. Is the stream alright? It looks like it cut out for a second then. Oh, no, no, we're alright. If this story is going to parallel Marineford in any capacity where it matters, right, and the Straw Hats can't lose this fight, the tragedy might be the death of the Red Hair Pirates.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at the end of the arc, the tragedy might be that the Red Hair Pirates die before Luffy's ever able to return the hat, meaning when Luffy does return, if Luffy were ever in a situation to return the hat, I mean, would you still call them the Straw Hats after that? You know what I mean? Like, if Luffy gives the hat back, what are the Straw Hats?
I mean, yeah, I think he gives the hat back and then he becomes Pirate King.
Yeah.
very soon after.
Now, I could definitely see it being, because think about it. The two most emotionally driven characters on the Straw Hats are Luffy and Usopp, right?
Mm-hmm.
Usopp's the realist. Luffy's just like the MC drive energy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To have the two most emotionally charged characters in the crew essentially lose part of their goal, that would that would fundamentally alter how they would react with the world going forward. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Luffy has essentially implied that he doesn't have a personal grudge against Blackbeard at the moment. He doesn't blame Blackbeard for Ace's death anymore, right?
Yeah.
In Fishman Island, Luffy reacted more about in a negative manner to Akainu than he did to Blackbeard. So to me,
Mm-hmm.
Luffy sees Akainu as more of the person to be blamed for Ace's death than Blackbeard, right?
Right.
For Luffy to have that emotional charge redirected back at Blackbeard, if Blackbeard kills Shanks, Van Auger kills Yasop, it would give a better emotional drive for Luffy and Usopp to surpass them and purposely seek them out for conflict.
Yeah.
It's the
It would also give a pretty good drive against the world government as well. Like I kind of see Blackbeard as someone who's just in the way, and the world government as someone where Luffy has never said, "I'm going to take over the world. I'm going to rule the world." I think Luffy needs to have like a really big motivation to do that. I think
uh,
Luffy already has the motivation to become Pirate King, and if Blackbeard stands in his way, he's going to walk right over him.
see.
But once he becomes Pirate King, it's like, why would I attack the world government? I don't care that my dad wants him dead. I don't care what my dad wants.
It's
It needs to
tough.
be something.
It's tough, right? Because I think what that'll be is the Joy Boy story. Where
Yeah, so that's the thing. Even I think even the poneglyphs, I don't know if he will care that much. I don't know if he will finally get everything that he wants and just be the freest person on the ocean and then just say, "Oh, okay, you know
okay,
what? I'm now going to like bog myself down with this war effort and try to like defeat the world government because other people aren't free."
what if Luffy what if the Poneglyphs actually reveal the existence of M, right?
Mhm.
And the existence of M directly contradicts Luffy's envisionment of freedom. Is that motivation enough then for Luffy to turn his fangs on the world government, especially if the world government is also planning the execution of Sabo?
I think Luffy is willing to go to really big efforts to stop any like wrongdoings that's happening right in front of him.
But he doesn't want to be a
But
hero.
I don't think he's gonna run a
But
campaign. I think he wants himself to be free. That's all he's
but
cared about.
but what if Luffy comes to the realization that he'll never be free personally as long as Im's around? So whatever,
Well,
because I think
yeah. So like I could see the Poneglyphs giving him a motivation, but I think it needs to be more than that. I think it needs to be okay. The world government is evil and corrupt, and they all deserve to be massacred. And also, they killed Sabo, and also they killed Shanks, and also they took Robin. And so I'm gonna go take them out. I think there
I could
needs
say
to be
that.
more than one thing.
I could see that, but I don't necessarily like. I don't see the world government being at fault, like being the reason Shanks goes down. Especially since Shanks went to the world government to talk about a certain pirate. I think at this point in time, we just have to say it was Blackbeard, don't we? Like, is there anyone else it was
Yeah.
going to be?
Yeah, I think it's possible that Blackbeard can take out Shanks because Blackbeard hasn't really like earned his cred as much as I think a lot of people think.
I mean,
Like he
Luffy's
could.
taking out Kaido. Blackbeard took out Marco. Marco's impressive. I mean, I'm on the Marco hype train every day and night, but he's no Kaido. He's
Well,
no
I mean,
Big
King
Mom.
and Queen were taking him out.
Um, I see. Again, it's really hard because it can go in so many directions, and we've talked about this countless times, right? We're always 50% correct and 90% wrong. As weirdly, like I know the math doesn't work out there, but that Oda does it. You know what I mean? Um,
Mm.
I think what's important is going to be like we're we're at the point in the power scaling wise where the Straw Hats are a Yonko crew. We don't need to bat an eye about that. We have enough allies that we could challenge the world government. That's set up enough, right? The point here and here on out is going to be what emotionally charges the characters to do certain things and take certain steps. If 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 Blackbeard took out Shanks, but Shanks was only after Blackbeard because he was in a deal with the world government to take out Blackbeard, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could see Luffy personally wanting to seek out Blackbeard but not. Finding out about the One Piece stuff, starting his war for whatever it is we find out. And I think it's even possible that Luffy unlocks the voice of all things properly by the time we get to Raftel, right? Or Laughtale, sorry. And
Mm-hmm.
Luffy decides to go to war before we even read the poneglyph. Like, you know how the Roger Pirates just laughed?
Yeah.
And it's called Laugh Tale because it's going to be a funny tale, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but something tells me the most interesting thing would be if Luffy wasn't satisfied with the story. If it made Luffy not laugh. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, thinking about the Roger Pirates laughed, but they were also too early, they couldn't do anything, so they sort of gave up on dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
Luffy gets there, Robin goes to read it, Luffy can, with the voice of all thing, already understands the base premise of what's going on. And essentially all it is he can feel that this stone is telling him that there's an oppressor that controls the world and reduces freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Robin explains the story about how, you know, there was this guy called Joy Boy and he did this and that and it was amazing and it was hilarious, but at the end of the day he died because of oppression.
Mm-hmm.
That in conjunction with what's happening with Sabo and what could potentially happen with Boa and even Mihawk, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could see those people being the catalyst for the Straw Hats to get involved in the final war, but Luffy having an extra motivation to push for it because he unknowingly put the burden of the world on his shoulders by reading that poneglyph. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Luffy never wanted to be the hero. He never wanted to be the person to share meat. But Luffy's growing up. Even in Wano, Luffy's shared his food with Otama. He's gone out of his way to try and look after the people and be a martyr. Where in the past Luffy didn't want to be a hero, Luffy is unknowingly or unwillingly becoming a hero here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a massive shift in character, and I think it's as we get closer to the point where he goes from a pirate to pirate king. Because I think that's sort of the last steps in his character. It's a coming of age story. Alright, we've got another comment here. What if Blackbeard defeated him and not Luffy? So there's still that move in antagonist perspective, which will make him king of the world technically. Blackbeard is a D after all. That way, there's a motivation to for Luffy to fight. That would be great. I would like that a lot. I could definitely see that shift. Blackbeard also inherited Rox's will, which he wanted to be the king of the world. I mean, okay. First things first. For anyone that says Im's a bad villain because Im was introduced too late in the story, One Piece is going to be roughly 120 chapters long. Maybe 130 chapters. 1,200 to 1,300 chapters long. Okay? That's roughly how long the story's going to last. Im was introduced around the 900 chapter as a person, but as a concept, arguably around the late 200s. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, like, we're talking like by the end of the story, Im's going to have been part of the story technically for almost a quarter, if not a third of the story. You know what I mean? If you went to the movies and the final villain got, the final villain first shows up at the 75% of the movie, it doesn't feel too late necessarily, does it? Like, how many movies have you seen where the big bad of the organization is revealed in the last, like, half an hour of the movie?
Yeah, I mean that's. But I think the thing is that like I think Im is going to be the big bad being revealed. It's just that it's already been kind of revealed to us.
Yeah.
But
So,
like to Luffy, it's
whether or not Im's the final villain, or whether or not Blackbeard's the final villain, it doesn't matter to me. Because I think no matter what, it's going to be great storytelling. Whether or not it's the guy that got introduced 75% of the way through the story that becomes the villain, and then it's like, yeah, he got introduced kind of late, but he was a beast. Or it's the guy that was introduced in the, within the first, Blackbeard was introduced at around chapter 130. So a dude that was introduced in the first 10 minutes of the movie going around and overthrowing this big bad organization to become the final villain at the end. It could work either way. They're really, either way you spin it, it can be done successfully. It doesn't necessarily have to hurt the story for either one of them to be the villain. So at this point in time, I'm along the ride because I don't know who it's going to be. But what I do know is whatever it is and whoever it's going to be, it's going to be solely written emotionally for coming forward. You know what I mean? Like, this is 22. No, I'm 23, and One Piece was going for a year before I was born. So this is 24 years almost of setup. We're about to just get payoffs. Like, One Piece is about to be the next few years just payoff central. We're going to start to see the end of character arcs. We're going to see Zoro become the world's strongest swordsman. We're going to see Luffy become the pirate king, right? We're going to see Blackbeard achieve a goal, I was thinking of doing a video on this to explain in a bit more detail because I've talked about this a few times. I think there's actually, if you've been in this channel for a little bit, you may have heard me talk about this before. I talk about a thing now and then called Oda's use of threes, where he tells the same story 3 times. One is his focus, one is his, anti-focus, and one is like a dead like sidebar of complete difference. You know what I mean? I think it's possible that Whitebeard, Blackbeard, and Luffy represent a theme of 3 in One Piece, in the sense that throughout the entire story, Luffy's always said, I couldn't be Pirate King if it isn't for my crew. Right? How many times have we heard Luffy say that, and even Straw Hats say Luffy's going to need the best cook to be the Pirate King, or the best swordsman? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's his main focus. Whether or not you want to say it's the opposite focus or the adjacent focus, we've got Whitebeard. Whitebeard wanted to protect his kids. So it wasn't, I'm going to become the greatest in the world because of my crew. It was, I'm the greatest in the world, therefore I protect my crew. You know what I mean? I think Blackbeard, narratively, most definitely, will represent, I will sacrifice my crew to become the greatest in the world. I don't necessarily know how that's going to play out. For a while there, I thought maybe Blackbeard and Luffy are tying to reach Laugh Tale, but Blackbeard sacrifices his crew to get there, and then he finds out it's not what he actually wanted in life, and that's how Blackbeard sort of goes out narratively. But potentially, it could be Blackbeard uses his crew to get into Merijoa to take out Imsama, and his crew are one by one getting caught up in fights they can't beat with, say, vice admirals or admirals, or even straw hats and stuff like that, and he just abandons them one after the other, just to try and achieve his own goal. What are your thoughts on that, Daniel?
I'm not really sure. don't know where Blackbeard will have his main confrontation is the problem. I think it's going to become a lot more clear after we see him next or whatever the hell he's going to do. What his like general future plan is, because right now he's just kind of hovering around. He has really nothing to do with Luffy. So it's really hard to tell like what he's going to do, when we're going to see him. Yeah. But I mean, like, I definitely agree that like he's the kind of person where he won't care about his crew. He only put his crew together so he could become Pirate King. They're just kind of there to serve him in his mind.
It's going to be hard. Going forward, we're going to see massive tone shifts in the story, I think. It's going to be crazy. But that being said, that's if we ever get out of Wano. At this point in time, we're locked in for a bit longer. I think possibly we have another year of Wano, or half a year of Wano.
Yeah, I could say so.
Like I think there's only 10 chapters left in the year roughly. I don't think we're finishing Wano this year.
Oh, no way.
Next year, finishing Wano in 30 to 40 chapters. Yeah, I can see that happening. Another 4 volumes to completely wrap it up is possible.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
mean, we're at the final fight, so it depends on how long the final fights happen and how much talking and.
I mean, we think we're at the final fight.
Yeah.
At this point in time, if Kaido goes down and it turns out he's not the final fight, and then the world government starts to show up and invade, we could be talking a whole different story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That being said, though, I doubt that's going to happen at this point. I think they're more going to be on cleanup duty and stuff like that than anything.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're going to wrap it up there. Daniel, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. All right. Cheers for coming out. Nothing but love, nothing but respect. We really appreciate you guys doing what you do. But if you haven't done so already, all right, you know what to do. Got all the social media stuff here to follow. All right, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon for more notifications for content like this. All right, help us hit our goal at the end of the month for 75 subscribbles. All right, we're slowly chugging away through it, and it is really appreciated, and it shows us that you care, and it keeps us motivated to, keep doing this on days where we can't be bothered. All right, because sometimes you wake up and everyone gets like that. Everyone wakes up from time to time and is just like, oh, I don't feel like it today, and so this sort of stuff helps keep us motivated to just get on here and talk, even though normally we'd do it anyway. So yeah, that being said, peace, nothing but love, nothing but respect. Have a damn good day, and goodbye.